Hi students, this is Dr. Winterbottom. I want to make a video for us. I'm going to include the first few slides in this presentation about Chapter 9, Narration. We've already gone over this in class, and you also took a quiz on some parts from the chapter. So my plan is to sort of quickly skim through the first few slides so that we can spend more time talking about the journal prompt that we're working on right now. Chapter 9, Narration. This chapter will explain and illustrate how to develop an essay with emphasis on narration, how to write and revise a narrative essay. Let me tell you something strange that happened to me. Children love to hear a beloved story again and again. Over dinner, adults tell each other about their day. Whatever our age, we never outgrow our hunger for stories. Narration is storytelling. Whether we are relating a single story or several related ones, through narration, we make a statement clear by relating in detail something that has happened to us. In the story we tell, we present the details in the order in which they happened. A person might say, for example, I was really embarrassed the day I ... and then go on to share an account of that experience. If the story is sharply detailed, we will be able to see and understand just why the speaker felt that way. So we did spend time looking at one of the student essays, the one that's called Taking on a Disability, and you guys answered some quiz questions about that. And we looked at the section in the book called Developing an Essay with Emphasis on Narration, and we looked at the sections about considering purpose and audience and using dialogue. So I'm going to skim past these slides, but you can see them here. They're in the video, so if you wanted to, you could pause and look at them again. But we did go over the rules for dialogue, and we did look at the section about development through pre-writing, and you guys answered some quiz questions about the writing process of the student named Lisa who wrote Taking on a Disability. So I am going to move forward to this part, which is the essay that we're now working on. We're going to write an essay in response to a quotation, and we looked at an article called The Top 100 Inspirational Quotes from the Forbes website. And here are some of the quotes that are from that list, like strive not to be a success, but rather to be a value from Albert Einstein. Or the most difficult thing is the decision to act, the rest is merely tenacity from Amelia Earhart. Fall 7 times and get up 8. That's a Japanese proverb. Believe you can and you're halfway there. That's Theodore Roosevelt. I like this one down in the corner. If you hear a voice within you say you cannot paint, then by all means paint, and that voice will be silenced. That is from Vincent van Gogh. Okay, so we took a look during class, we took a look at that article at the Forbes website, and if you would like to look at it again, there is a link to it in the Week 10 folder, and I also put the same link in the Week 11 folder if you want to take another look at that article and review that list of inspirational quotations. So the plan is choose one or two that you like, and we started brainstorming. We started with a brainstorming prompt that asked you to reflect on why those two quotations appeal to you. So we did have a discussion board prompt that asked you to reflect on two of the quotations. Then in week 10, we had a journal prompt that asked you to focus on one of the quotations. So you will use one of those quotations or another noteworthy saying to write a narrative essay about an experience from your own life. All right, now I'm going to keep going. So, more instructions about writing a narrative essay in response to a quotation. Use one of the quotations or another noteworthy saying to write a thesis statement for an essay with emphasis on narration about that experience. So I usually don't expect myself to have my thesis statement right away. You'll get to that, right? Um, the first step is to choose the quotation that you want to focus on and reflect on what you think it means, why it's important, and to relate it to some experience from your own life that you could tell a story about. Okay, so in week 10, we worked on journal prompt 4, and that asked you to choose one quotation that you relate to, something that is meaningful to you and your own experiences in life. And many people have already worked on this, but just in case a few people still need to do it, I'll just quickly remind you about it. Journal prompt 4, brainstorming about one quotation and situations and events to which it might apply. So we worked on this during week 10, and I asked you to share the quotation, name the author, explain why you find that quotation meaningful and what you think it means, and then reflect on how you would apply it to your life. So you're trying to come up with um, like situations and events to which it applies. Maybe you already know exactly what event it applies to or exactly what life experience you want to discuss. And if that's the case, then you can just go straight into discussing and developing that idea. But if you're not quite sure yet, then you might want to, you know, brainstorm several situations and events to which it could apply. So there's more details if you go look at that prompt. Um, but now we're in week 11, and the new prompt is journal prompt 5. And this is asking you to sort of dig a little deeper and develop your ideas a bit more. So you think of something you've experienced that relates to the quotation, a story about why that quotation is meaningful to you because of something in your own life. Okay, so now think about conflict, time, and emotion that are part of that story. So here are some pre-writing suggestions as you think about conflict, time, and emotion. So again, this is for journal prompt 5. Conflict. The incident should include a conflict or a source of tension. A conflict can be intense or it can be quieter, like a decision or a struggle with one's conscience, or a difficult problem that needs to be solved. Time. The incident should be limited in time. Think about what the time frame is going to be for your narrative. Emotion. The incident should provoke a definite emotional response in you so that it might draw a similar response in the reader. Good fit. Does the incident fully support the statement being made in the quotation? Okay, brainstorming about conflicts. So, what I've done here is shown a little notebook as if someone is doing some brainstorming. So, for conflict, could be a struggle, could be something I tried to do that was hard. It could be a dispute or a disagreement. What else? Maybe it's a decision I am trying to make, a change I made to something in my life, something challenging that I'm trying to do, a disappointment that I had to overcome or bounce back from, a time when I didn't believe I had power but then realized that I did, and I found the courage to to do something. Okay, brainstorming about time, something from my life experience that is happening now, or that happened last year, or that happened in high school, or that happened when I was a kid, or maybe it happened gradually over the course of several years, or it's a story about something that happened to a family member but it had a big influence on me. Brainstorming about emotion. When I think about a life experience, I could tell a story about what was I feeling? What were my emotions? Joy, nervousness, stress, worry, fear, excitement, hope, determination, anger, disappointment, annoyance, pride, happiness, elation, love, assurance, being supported, gratitude, or something else. All right, so again, for journal prompt 5, we're thinking about conflict, time, and emotion. So this is just a little example of, how somebody might set up this prompt or what they write in response to it. I like the quotation about whatever you can do or dream, you can begin it by Van Getha. I want to write about the time I decided to ... when I was in high school. At the time, I was feeling something and something. Or I could write about what I'm trying to do with my life right now, which requires a lot of hard work and determination. Or I like the quotation from Alice Walker about how people give up their power by thinking they don't have any. I think I could relate that to a time when I thought I didn't have the power to change ... But something happened and I tried. Whatever. I realized that I could ... I was about 16 at the time. The emotions I felt were this and that. So that's just a little example. All right, so in this kind of narrative, we reflect on our lived experience. We might use phrases like I recall how, or I remember, when I first, or the first time I used to think, or at one time I ... For events that happened in the past, we'll use past tense. We went there every day. We ate lunch first. I saw them from a distance and waved to them. Sometimes we portray ourselves as living in the present and reflecting on the past. We might need to alternate between present and past tense. We might use phrases like, when I think back on it, as I consider these events, I often remember those days. You might see a logical shift from present to past tense like this. When I think back on it, I realize that I should have agreed to get into the ambulance. As I consider these events, I realize that I was just a terrified child who felt she had done something wrong. You might see a logical shift from present to past like this. I often remember those days when my father was still alive, and I enjoyed the simple pleasure of greeting him at the end of the day. So that's pretty much it for today. As I think of more advice for writing a narrative, I will share more tips. For now, go ahead and work on the week 11 discussion board prompt and journal prompt number 5. Thank you. Talk to you soon.